Hello everyone, this is the East Coast Economic Update for July the 6th, 2018. There's a couple of things I want to kind of touch base with you in the upcoming weeks and months. I'm going to probably start doing this more once a month as needed. Today's unemployment numbers shot up by a little bit at 4%. That's if you believe that. The Shadowstat number, which I will have attached to this video, is showing a bump up, and it has been a consistent bump up, but we're now at 24.4%, almost 24.5% unemployment. What's occurring right now is a combination of things. First of all, we're in the second big bubble, and I'm going to explain this to you. The issue is not necessarily political, but a necessary evil. And I'll be in more detail of this. So Adam Schiff, way back in 2006, had IOU USA movie. Look it up, download it on Netflix, whatever you need to do. Watch it. He said that the first collapse would be a housing collapse, but the second collapse would be monstrous, and that would be a credit collapse. And he explained how it would happen. He believed that it would occur right after the first one. What stopped it from occurring, not stopping it completely, but just delaying it for about a decade, or almost 7 years, 8 years, no, almost a decade, was the buying out and controlling of the big banks by paying them out outrageous amounts of money. The student loan debt hit over $2 trillion. That means that every man, woman, and child in America who has a loan, a student loan, or has co-signed a student loan, that can also include parents, each one of them has on average between $45,000 and $50,000 in debt that they're holding on to. And they can't get rid of it. They can't declare bankruptcy. In fact, if you die, it's one of those few things that can go after your estate, unlike credit cards or anything else, and you can't unhook from it when you go through a bankruptcy. So that money is still latched to you for life or longer. We have so many people on unemployment right now, not on unemployment, but unemployed, because the U6 and U3 numbers are based, the U3 particularly, is based on the fact that you're making more than $35 an hour and that you've been working at one job 35 hours a week, not $35 an hour, 35 hours a week for more than 6 months. I can safely tell you, demographically speaking, that less than 2% actually can say that. The majority of people work gig economy jobs where they're working multitudes of jobs at 10 hours here, 12 hours there, 8 hours here, 12 hours there. And some people are working that have multiple degrees that are working 2 or 3 jobs on and off again as independent consultants. So none of them can get unemployment. This is what's going on. Those folks who are desperate or in desperate situations are either leaning far left, in the case of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who had degrees in international studies and economics, couldn't make ends meet and had to be a bartender. This is a big reflection on what's going on. Alternatively, you have a larger and larger group of people going towards the right, alt-right. We have at least 2, if not more, neo-Nazis or at least declared Nazis running for office. And I would dare say that they have a darn good chance of winning, because so many people are so frustrated that they have 2 choices: the desire to go towards democratic socialism, which seems to be the way it's leaning, or go towards nationalism, the understanding that what's really holding us back, and when I say us, meaning these people's idea of what's going on, are the blacks, the Jews, the immigrants, the Muslims, or whatever, fill in whatever blank you would like. And I think that there are less than the democratic socialists. But the issue is that what's going to happen in the fall is this huge tax cut went to these corporations, went to these individuals, and they bought back stock, not trickled it down towards average people. And the reason is because nobody's getting into the stock market. After the big collapse of 2007, average Joe is not going into the stock market. They're not even paying into their 401ks anymore in many cases. So what's going to happen is a twofold situation. The critical mass, when they start to increase the interest rates from the Fed, is going to put a knock-on effect for the student loans, and people are going to start to default even faster than what they're doing right now. There is a steady default rate been going on since 2012. Nobody's talking about that. And the stock market is going to start to drop because no new money is coming in. That gigantic jump that you saw is all stock buybacks. By October, November, we're going to see a definite both collapse of the credit market in regard to student loans, as well as a drop or a precipitous drop because nobody's buying stocks. And those two things are going to shift the majority of people left. And what's going to happen is kind of touched on by the neoconservatives and the Christian fundamentalists and guys like Alex Jones. They're crying a civil war. Well, it's not really a civil war where guns and battles are going to happen, but there is going to be a civil war where populism is going to make a decision that it's better for people to have a safety net instead of what they've been facing right now, which is a multitude of jobs, no way of making ends meet, crushing debt, and the reality of the fact that the banks and the major corporations have won in every single case, particularly in 2007, 2008, and 2009, regardless of whether it's a Democrat or a Republican in the White House or in the Congress. But what's going to happen is the reality is that people will not be able to pay their loans. The stock market is going to see a precipitous drop. This Christmas holiday season is probably going to be muted, to say the least. And this is all going to fall into alignment where there's going to be a massive shift, some to the extreme right, and many to the extreme left. And what it's going to do, it is going to knock out the majority of centrists, both on the Democrat and the Republican Party. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? We will see. But the truth of the matter is that nothing has been corrected economically. It has been patched over, it has been covered up, and the average Joe, the average American person, particularly the young person, is left with nothing to look forward to. No middle class, no way of getting out from under crushing debt. And the older generations have looked at them and said, you just got to try harder, even though they had all the benefits. This is the reason why you have people in this present administration and in the previous administration looking and saying we need to promote high-end peoples but ignore the nuts and bolts of an economic system. There should have been some type of social safety net, or at least debt forgiveness back in 2007, 2008, and a direct punishment like they did in Iceland with the banks. This did not happen. So instead of having a peaceful change of guard, you're going to get now somewhere between Robespierre, Reign of Terror, and 1968 Second French Revolution, economic revolution, where at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that socialism will probably win out for no other reason. And I'm not saying socialism with a big S, but in the sense of a social safety net system like they have in the rest of Europe, where people are protected from basic things like being able to have an education. You're paying taxes, for goodness sake. You should be able to at least either get an affordable education where you're not walking away with massive debt, and be able to start your life and start your family and have health care. It's a basic human right. The rest of Europe and everyone else has it. But unfortunately, we're going to do it with a bloody nose instead of with a fully, thought out mind that the average person will rise up against
the rest of the establishment and kick them out. The Democrats thought that they're going to win with a blue wave. On the contrary, they're going to be kicked out by a blue and red wave, and they're going to be caught off balance because their only constituent is not the average person that they're meant and they're sworn to uphold their constitution to, but to the corporations in which they've laid on and have been enriched and ingratiated upon. And that's the only reason why there is no difference between the left and the right in the Republican-Democrat option. There is no better choice. There is only evil, not lesser evil, just evil. And what's going to happen is the people are about to say enough. You have a large contingent of people who have lived through the collapse, seen their parents become homeless, them graduate from high school into college with massive debt, and now those same people who have seen all this 10 years later have now graduated and now can barely make a living, not to mention have something of their own. Every dime that they make, they have to pay 20 cents, and you heard me right. Every dime that they make, they've got to pay twice as much to keep their debt at an even level. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what's going to cause a flip in the way we operate in this country. So, keep your eyes to the skies. Peace.